quiet week last week. I ended up not working. I only had one hold. It was for Wednesday, local, about a 45-minute drive from my house. And they ended up releasing me 48 hours before. It was a Monday morning. They cut me loose. So I don't have any BTS to vlog about this week. And I've been struggling thinking about what to talk about. And then it occurred to me, we've got our U.S. presidential election this coming Tuesday. So I thought I'd talk about some of my experiences covering presidential elections in the past. My first one was, I was a senior in high school, went to high school in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is the first state to hold its presidential primary here in the state. So it was interesting. We had every presidential candidate visit my high school and speak, hold rallies and events, available for interviews. I was one of the AV geeks in the TV program in my high school. And then I was also working for the city, project-based, their government cable channel. So we covered like city planning board meetings, city council meetings. I would get embedded and do these little like B-roll feature packages, covering different events at different, it was actually a town. So town council members would have a particular thing they were interested in. And so like, I got to see all the infrastructure for the community. I grew up in New Hampshire, wastewater treatment, freshwater treatment, the dump, the beginnings of the recycling program. I was a senior in 1995. But the highlight for me, in addition to covering, Clinton was running for re-election. So there were no Democrats running in the primary beyond Clinton, but we had all the Republican presidential candidates there. And I think all the majors I covered, and I've got a little bit of B-roll. I'll cycle through some of that. I've saved some of that footage. I have other beta tapes, Super VHS and 3/4 U-matic tapes still in storage, some in the garage. I've been slowly transferring things. Now, it's been 4 years since my last dig session, and I think the tape decks I have now, I'm afraid they may not even power up. Probably all like pinch rollers, rubber parts, dried out, leaky capacitors. But I've got a beta deck in storage. I've got a Super VHS deck here in my garage. I need to finish up on the last couple cases of tapes. But anyhow, the highlight for me, 1995, I was 17 years old, and I got to cover a President Clinton and Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich at the time. They did it like a town hall meeting in northern New Hampshire. I got to cover that with a Betacam camera. I had my dad with me, and I'll run through a little bit of that footage. I was more fascinated with all of the national media organizations that were on site and the infrastructure involved to go live from a big presidential event, and the layers of security, Secret Service, state police, the county sheriffs, the local police force, metal detectors, dog sniffing things, the securities. We would go in, set up all our gear, and then we had to disappear for like an hour, might have been an hour and a half while they swept the area. Snipers on rooftops. There were guys all like tacked out with rifles, hiding in the bushes behind the lectern, totally invisible to the audience. But as the media, we got to see some of those layers of security get in place prior to the event opening to the attendees. And I was most fascinated with the SAT trucks from all the national media organizations. Back then, to go live mid-90s, it wasn't even a van with an antenna on the roof. You had to go like big, like 5-ton cube truck, diesel generators, big, I don't even know the diameter of the antenna dish on the roof, but those things were massive. And I think it was all analog back then. So the truck tech had to manually tune everything in. I met an acquaintance through my high school that was 4 years ahead of me who ended up doing a lot of SAT truck work and got me a little bit interested in that side of the business, thinking, maybe I can go work for one of these truck companies, and eventually evolve into owning my own truck and going out and doing remotes. But alas, I got distracted, went to film school, got into narrative filmmaking, ended up in Los Angeles, and sort of fell out of the TV news world as I started my career in my early 20s. But covering President Clinton with my dad at 17 years old, incredible experience. And now fast forward 2024, my son's a senior in high school. He's 17 years old. And we've been able to go out together and cover several presidential candidates. First one up this year was Congressman William Hurd. He's no longer in office. He was replaced by Tony Gonzalez, who now has that seat here for South Texas. I forget the district number. I'm right on the edge of his district, other side of the freeway, a couple hundred yards from where I'm standing is that district. But alas, I'm in a different one. But William Hurd, Beck and I got to go out to his private residence. I didn't vlog. I think I vlogged a little unloading the van, but I didn't want to shoot any BTS in his personal home with his family. And that just didn't seem appropriate. He was super nice, chatted with Beck a little bit, talked about military service a little bit. He had a whole bunch of challenge coins in his office. And so it was kind of neat. Beck got to see a little bit of that and experience it. And then we set up, we did a live remote that was for Cuomo's show. You can refer back through my vlogs. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out. I did a little bit of vlogging on that. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I was super happy with the color out of the FX9 for that remote. And that prompted me to tune things and make my own custom profile for live TV. Last couple of weeks, I've had several viewers on my channel reach out to me because they've booked rally coverage or live shots with a correspondent and asking me like how I tune and integrate the FX9 with a live view or a satellite truck. I was just fielding messages yesterday for a DP that's a Burano shooter, first time patching the Burano into a sat truck. So I made a few suggestions on how to set the camera up. Be sure to send an 1080i is what all the networks want, still stateside. I've had some of the streamer media companies that are comfortable and prefer taking a progressive signal, but it sounds crazy once you've been out of live TV for a while. But live TV is still here in the US. It's either 720p 60 or 1080i 30. And now most modern cameras don't output 720p. So all of the 720p networks like ABC, who I've worked for a bit, they can take a 1080i live signal, no problem, but they can't necessarily accept 1080p. Next presidential assignment, we went down to Eagle Pass and covered Governor Gov Burgum from North Dakota, who was also running for president on the Republican ticket, and the governor's campaign people, as well as the show I was feeding the live interview for. It was either The Hill or Leland Vittard's show. I don't remember which. I'll run some footage. But it was over 100 degrees. The campaign team wanted us to be right on the border, Rio Grande in the background, the Concertina wire as a mid-layer. And unfortunately, the spots that are accessible down there, the live view cellular signal is a little hit and miss, and it's gotten worse the last couple of years as more shipping containers and barriers are put in place. It's just harder to get a reliable signal. So we were having problems. I got the live view up, but our IFB link over cell phones were dropping in and out, and we ended up using we had to use one of the governor's staff members' iPhone because I'm trying to remember, I think AT&T was bad down there. I was having trouble with my T-Mobile phones, and they were maybe Verizon. We had to try all three carriers to get a reliable link. And then my earpiece, the Lightning or USB-C adapter wasn't playing nice with several phones. So I felt so bad for the governor. He's standing out there roasting, over 100 degrees, super windy. I had Beck holding an umbrella on a stand to prevent it from blowing over. And at one point, it did blow over before we were live, away from the governor. Some of the National Guard that were on site, they jumped up and found some like weights and sandbags for me. And just like within half a minute, they had multiple weights and bags stacked on my stands to supplement what Beck and I had set up. That all went off, live interview. And I had one of my Amira packages out on a rental while we were on that assignment. So I had split my gold mount batteries in half were with the rental. And we were getting critically low on batteries. And the battery I had on the FX9 was one I haven't used on a camera in a while. They're older for lights, so I wasn't getting an accurate time remaining status. And during the last question, as we're wrapping up, the camera cut out and we lost the feed. But fortunately, I guess they had just cut away from us, and just dumb luck, it worked out, and I didn't embarrass myself cutting a feed on national television. Next up, Governor Ron Desantis from Florida. He did a border tour in the Eagle Pass area, and I spent a few days traveling around with the governor covering his experience. That was also for a media company. And unfortunately, didn't get to do any Biden, Harris, or Trump coverage this year. The Biden and Harris camp, I don't think I had it. No one reached out to me, media companies or a campaign to cover, but on the Trump side, I was on hold to cover a couple of different rallies and a few short form interviews and one sit down long form. And the long form, I was just on standby. It could hit at any time over the last couple months. And it didn't happen for me. I don't know, geography, timing, a few of the other ones too, the short form interviews. It was just like a venue or location change, and they went with a different freelancer or staffer. So I didn't get to check that one off. But regardless, super rewarding, full generational circle to be able to, something I did with my dad at 17 years old, to be able to do the same thing with my son at 17. A career highlight for me. I'll wrap this up with one last memorable experience from several elections back. I don't remember if it was Obama's first term running for or the second term, but I had the opportunity to shoot political ads for then Governor Mitt Romney. I think he had just gotten out of office as the governor of Massachusetts. He was running for president, and I shot several video ads that ran online, not broadcast, with the governor a few different times. But one in particular was at the Burbank Airport at the General Aviation Terminal. He was doing multiple campaign stops on the West Coast, and he had this, I think, 15-minute window of time to shoot some ads with us. So they set us up in the GA terminal in a conference room, and I wish I had some BTS footage from back then. I don't even think I had a cell phone back then that recorded video, but we're all set up in this conference room. It was a green screen, and the governor lands, and they taxi his jet right up to the exterior door of the conference room. He deplanes, takes maybe 10 steps on the ramp, and he's in the room, shakes everyone's hands, shoots a couple teleprompted messages, one take, perfect. And that was one of the things of that. They were very clear because time was so tight, 15-minute window. There are no take twos. We can't have any delays or resets for the crew. There are no last looks. You got to get it right with a stand-in before the governor gets there. But we knock out these couple of scripts in under 15 minutes. And then the thing that hit me, and this is like a talent that the kind of politicians have that I will never have, is the governor rounded the room after he finished and remembered everyone in the room, the state trooper, my grip, my sound guy, my name. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you, Trooper Roberts. Thanks for your help and opportunity. And boom, out the door, 10 steps into the airplane. Engines were already running when he boarded, and that thing taxied away, and that was it. I'd like to know some of your experiences with political campaigns, not necessarily stateside, maybe some perspectives from other countries. Twofold. Have you worked for a campaign shooting media or a media organization covering it? And in particular, like the contrast between the two different perspectives when you're trying to be this objective media organization versus you're working indirectly for the candidate to present them in the best light. All right. Thanks for watching.